Okay, we are on Daf Chaf Aleph, Amud Beis, all the way in the bottom. Sanhedrin. We are up to the last line of Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, where it says, "Va'afal pish le'nitna Torah al yada." We're talking about Ezra Sefer. Even though the Torah was not given through Ezra Sefer, even though we said that he was ready to have the Torah have been given by him, if not for the fact that Moshe came first chronologically, still Nishtan al Yadeh, the Torah was changed because of him. Nishtan al Yadeh Ksav, the letters, the writing of the Torah was changed because of him. Like we said before, that originally the Ksav of the Torah was Ksav Ivri, and it switched over in the days of Ezra, it switched over to Ksav Ashuras. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, "But Ksav Hanishtavan," the writing that changed, that it was written by the time when the Malach wrote the words "Minei Minei Tekul Ufarsin" on the walls by Belshazzar, I think it was. That writing, nobody was able to read it because it was changed. Because beforehand it was written in Ksav, Ivri, and then it was switched to Ksav Ashuras. And the pasuk continues, "Kasav Aramus and Turgam Aramus."
The Gemara in Shabbos that says, "Why is the hay open towards the
yeah. Yeah, that's I believe talking about Ksav Ashuras.
Right, Ashuras.
Yeah.
So that was given. That Gemara was if the Ezra. That Gemara was learned if the Ezra.
I guess so. I hear your question. I guess so. Unless it's in Ksav Ivri, it's like that also. I don't know. We have Ksav Ivri, so you can look it up online what the Ksav Ivri looks like.
Yeah.
Presumably that's what it is. They found archaeological stuff from 2,000 years ago or something like that. That's more than that.
Smooth. I used to be a cipher.
Oh,
I used to write a lot. I mean, I was a business, but on the side.
Yeah.
I used to write.
Okay. So, Kasav Aramis and Turgam Aramis. It was written in Aramis and it was translated into Aramis. The Ksiv in the pasuk says, "Loi kahalin ksava, v'loi chalin ksava lemikrei ufishrei lohida." They couldn't read the Ksav. They couldn't read it and explain what it means, Lamalka, to the king. Uksiv in the pasuk says, "V'kasves Mishnah Torah says." This is a pasuk in Chumash. Before that, it was a pasuk in Ezra and a pasuk in Daniel. But here it's a pasuk in Chumash and says, "V'kasves Mishnah Torah says." He wrote this Mishnah Torah. Mishnah is a lashon of two, double. Ksav haroi lishtanis, or there's a gersa that the Rishonim bring down that the Ksav shahu asoy or ha'asad lishtanis. That when the Torah was given al das, that eventually it would change to become a different Ksav. Zak the Gemara, Lam Nikra Ashuras. Why is this language called Ashuras?
Very interesting. Different with ISIS. ISIS with like foundations of the Torah. Creation.
Yeah.
So
but the words didn't change and the language didn't change. Whether it was Ksav Ivri or Ksav Ashuras, the words were the same. Right. It still said Bereshis Bara Elokim. It wasn't written in a different language. It was written in a different alphabet, but it was the same 20. They had 22 letters,
so
etc.
The word was created with the aleph base, and not the way it was written. It was the aleph base, the way it gets spoken out to you.
Yeah. Lama Nikra Ashuras. Why was it called Ashuras? Sha'ali Imahami Asher. It went with them up from Asher. They brought Ezra Sefer. Brought the Ksav to Eretz Yisrael. Tanya, we learned in a brayso. Rabbi says, "But Chila b'Ksav said not to Eretz Yisrael." Originally, this Ksav of Ksav Ashuras was given to Klal Yisrael. In other words, it started off that way. It did start off that way. Kivan shachatu, once they did an avera by the Bayis Rishon, then how are you, Mitzi? Nepach lam l'roitz. They forgot it. Kivan shachazr ben, when they went back to Eretz Yisrael, l'chzir lam, this Ksav Ashuras was given back to them. Shenemar shuvuli bitzarein asirei atikva. Return to Bitzarein is a fortress to Yerushalayim, which was the fortress. So return to Yerushalayim asirei atikva. Those who are captured on hope. Gam hayoim magid mishnah ashavlach. This day also I will give you back the Mishnah. I will return to you. The Mishnah is what we said before, that it's the second language, the second alphabet, I should say, of Ksav Ashuras. Lama Nikra Shema Ashuras. Why is it written Ashuras? Shemu Sheras b'Ksav, because it's rich with Ksav. I'm thinking it just means because it's a very beautiful Ksav. That's what I'm thinking, but I couldn't find anyone who says a specific pirish to this. Rabbi Shimon Elazar, I remember Rabbi Eliezer ben Parta. Rabbi Shimon Elazar says the name of Rabbi Eliezer ben Parta. We're on the first medium wide line. Okay. Sha'amar Mishum Rabbi Elazar Amadai, who said the name of Rabbi Elazar Amadai, Ksav Zel Nishtana Kolekar. No, this Ksav was not changed at all. In other words, this is the same Ksav from all the way at the beginning. Shnemer, like the pasuk says, Vavei HaAmudim, the hooks of the Amudim. The hooks of the Amudim that kept the curtains up in the Chatzar HaMishkan, they're called Vavei. Why? Because they're a shape of a Vav. So you see, right, they were like a straight line with a stick sticking out to be the hook. So you see that it didn't switch. It was called, that's how the Vav looked, even in the time of the Mishkan. Ma'amudim le'nishtanu, avavim le'nishtanu. Just like the Amudim, the pillars were the same. In other words, pillars are pillars are pillars. So the Vavim also didn't change. The Rashi brings down a different verse over here. He says that ma'lashonim le'nishtana, just like their language didn't change, because according to everyone, they kept in this, the Lashon HaKodesh they spoke was the same spoken language. It was just the question was how it was written. Was it written in Ksav Ashuris or Ksav Ivris? So that was just like their language didn't change. Af Vavim le'nishtanu, so too the Vavim didn't change. When the Vav looked like a Vav, looked like a Vav.
I think it's harsh. For Meshurashes, being that it's written in Aleph Beis Gimel, each one Aleph Beis Gimel, so connected to that beauty that everything falls
maybe,
in order. It falls in order, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
It's kind of connected. You know?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And we have a former Sefer here, you know. Yep. This is a very appropriate Gemara. Adara, but Shmuel, if you want to give the shir, go ahead. V'aymer, the pasuk says, Yehudim kichsavim v'chol shaynam. The pasuk also by Megillas Esther says that it was written to the Yehudim, to the Yidden, in their writing and in their language. Ma'al shaynam l'nishtana, the same right. Just like their language didn't change, af ksavim l'nishtana, so too the writing didn't change. So according to Rabbi Elazar Madai, who says this, that it didn't change. Elmani Mekayim es Mishnah Torah. What do you do with the pasuk Mishnah Torah, which is mashma that there are two writings? The shtei Torahs. We're talking about the two Torahs that a king has to write. We discussed this yesterday already. Right. My one that goes inside and out with him, it stays with him wherever he goes. And one that he keeps in his treasure house. The one that he makes and he carries with him in and out wherever he goes. He makes it like a kameya, like an amulet. He makes it small, it's pocket size, not pocket size, it's Sefer Torah, but as small as possible. But and he hangs it on his arm. Shenemar, so he's taking it always. I put Hashem in front of me constantly, and the end of the pasuk is Umimini Bal Emite, and Kimi Mini Bal Emite, because from my right hand he doesn't turn. I don't let Hashem turn. In other words, you're always carrying the Sefer Torah with you on your right hand. Another man if he doesn't use it for the king's Sefer Torah, what does he use it for? He uses it for Rav Chana Bar Bizna. Rav Chana Bar Bizna, Rav Shimon Chasida. Rav Chana Bar Bizna said the name of Rav Shimon Chasida. Maspalel, someone who davens Sarach Shiyira Ansmi Kilo Shchina Kenegdai. When he said he has to see himself, and it's brought down in Halacha as if the Shchina is opposite him. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Shivisi Hashem, I make Hashem, like I envision Hashem, Lenegdi Summit, always constantly. When according to Rab Shimon it says the Ksav never changed all along, what does the pasuk mean when it said the pasuk in Ezra that they couldn't read the Ksav? Because we learned it as it was a different alphabet, that's why they couldn't read it. But if he's saying that the alphabet stayed the same, what was the problem reading it? Rav says, it was written to them in Gematria. Yatis adech pug chamat. Okay? In other words, the pasuk says a special nevuah that the Rebbeinu Shem sent that to tell I think it was Belshazzar that his army would be destroyed. And the words are minei tekel ufarsen. That's the words that the pasuk says, and they couldn't read that. But if you hold it was a different alphabet, it's pasha why they couldn't read it. But if you hold that it was the same alphabet, what couldn't they read? So the Gemara is going to bring three different cheshbonis in Gematria, how it was written on the wall. In other words, it was actually written like this: Yates Edach Pag Chamat, and they weren't able to read it because they didn't know that it meant to kill the Minei Tekel Parson. right? So what the pasuk is telling us, Minei Minei Tekul Parson, is according to this Mandiyamar, what it actually did not say on the wall, but it was the translation, the interpretation of what it meant after it was, decoded, so to speak. My parish lahu. I'm sorry. Yetes edach upugchamat. The cheshbon is atbash. So aleph switches to, if you make aleph match to taf and beis match to shin, then yud matches to mem and tes matches to nun and saf matches to aleph. That's minei, and so on and so forth. And you spell it yetes edach pugchamat. My parish, what's the pshat in Minei Tekul Parson? What's the pshat in that nevuah and that written words on the wall? Minei Elikam al Chusach. Hashem counted your kingdom. V'shlamta lecha tekel. V'shlamta lecha, and He paid you back. Tekel means takilta b'meznaya. Hashem weighed it with a scale. V'shtakachta chasir. And He found it missing. In other words, you're not doing a good job. Hashem is going to punish you for your averos. Parson prisas malchusach v'yihivis lamadu paras. Your Parson lashon Rabbim Rashi says your kingdom will be split and given to Madai and Paras, to Media and Persia. Shmuel says a different quote unquote code over here. Gematria mamtus nankefi alran. That means that you take the words of Minei Minei Tekul Parson, you split it into 5 3-letter groups. So, and then you take the first of each letter, and so you have mem, taf, and pei. The purpose was that they couldn't understand what it was. If I remember correctly, they called, I think it was Daniel, I could be misremembering, I haven't looked in a while, to interpret what it was that the nevuah was. So the mem, taf, vav, saf, samach, whatever, if you go through it, look, the first letter of each word, mem, nun, aleph, that's Minei. Second letter of each word is mem, nun, aleph, again, that's Minei. The third letter is taf, kuf, lamed, that's tekel. And then the fourth letter is vav, fei. What was that? The third letter is taf, kuf, lamed, yeah? Tekel. Mamtus nankefi alra. That one? Okay. And then the fourth letter is vav, fei, reish. And then the fifth letter, samach, yud, endenon, spells ufarsin. Rabbi Yochanan says, anam lakas nisrafu. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it was backwards. Right? Read it backwards. Aleph nun mem is minei from the end. Aleph nun mem again minei. Tekel ufarsin. Just read it backwards. Rav Ashi says, nimei katel person. Rav Ashi said that the Malach put the first letter of each word second. So nun mem aleph instead of mem nun aleph. So in other words, took the mem at the beginning of the word and stuck it one letter in. It's like Pig Latin where you move around the syllables, you stick an extra syllable. So the Malach moved the first letter one in. So instead of tekel with the taf at the beginning, put the taf in the second letter. And instead of uparsin, put the vav in the second letter, so it said person. So this doesn't make any sense. It's not real words, and that's why they couldn't understand it. But when you decode it, then it says the nevuah. We're continuing with the halachas of a king, and the halacha is that you're not allowed to ride on the horse of a king. It's not covered. Then yoshvan al kisa, you can't sit on his throne. You can't use a scepter. All these are pretty pashut. No king would want you to do that. You don't watch the king when he's getting a haircut.
That he had what's the big deal?
His horse was his own horse, like by Achashverosh. Yeah, like Achashverosh. Haman said exactly right. So
racing horse.
Right. It doesn't mean a horse that belonged to him. It means his horse, the king's horse. Yeah. You don't watch him. You don't. There's no audience when he's getting a haircut. What? I don't think so. I think it's just a design. Okay? Aram, and not when he's not dressed. It's not when he's in the bathhouse. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, you put on you a lecha above you with melech. His fear you should have all for him.
not a regular person.
Yeah, you treat him with respect. Gemara. Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Rav Yechanan. Rav Yaakov said the name of Rav Yechanan. Avishag muteres l'shleima v'asur l'adainia. Avishag was mutter to shleima and asur to adainia. The story, the Gemara is going to quote it, but the story was that Melech David Zakin Baba Yam, the King David was old and he couldn't stay warm, and they said, let's find a young girl who will keep you warm, and the Gemara is going to go through that story right now. But the Gemara starts off.
Didn't keep him warm.
What? The beged didn't keep him warm because what the story with Shaul, that he cut off the corner of Shaul's beged, and it was
famous book from a Bar Cutler on this conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the malach cloth that's meant to keep you warm didn't work, right? Cloth.
Yeah.
How can you not see it? So and Dov Ruchti, they speak and someone else that it definitely is having a negative effect.
Very nice.
Like a coat, keep you warm. But if you misuse it, and lose the shkoyach.
Very nice. Shkoyach. So the reason why the Gemara brings down this story with Avishag over here is because we're talking about using the king's things. And Avishag's, her main purpose was to serve David HaMelech. So for the Gemara is saying that Shleima, the Gemara will say it out in a second, but I think, but Shleima HaMelech was a king. So it's not a bizayin to the previous king if he uses the king's thing. Avishag was the servant, the maidservant of the king. But Adoniah wasn't the king, and therefore it would have been a bizayin for Adoniah to marry Avishag. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yechanan, Avishag, excuse me, Muteres l'shleima was mutter to shleima, v'asur l'adoniah and asur to adoniah. Muteres l'shleima, she was mutter to shleima. The melech hayi, he was a king. A melech mishtamish b'shavit hamelech. A king could use the scepter of a different king. V'asur l'adoniah, she was asur to adoniah. The hedyot, he was a hedyot. He was not royalty. He was from a royal family, but he wasn't the king, and therefore he wasn't able to use her. Avishag Mahi, what's the story with Avishag? The Ksiv, the pasuk says. Now the Gemara is going to quote a couple of psukim to give us the Rashi Prakim of the story. The King David was old, coming in his days, and he wasn't able to stay warm. Excuse me. His servant said, "Let's find somebody for the king." Nara Basula Amdel Fnei Melch Vasilei Sechenes V'Shachva B'Chekecha V'Chamla Dinei Melch. She'll be able to warm the king. V'Ksiv, and it says
She wasn't his wife, right?
She was not. Well, the Gemara is going to talk about it. V'Vakshin Nari Yafa V'Gaimer. They looked for a Nari Yafa, beautiful woman. V'Ksiv Nari Yafa Ad Ma'id. She was very beautiful. V'Til Melch Sechenes. She was like a cover for the king. But the Shasei when she served him. Now the Gemara says, what was the dialogue between Avishag and David HaMelech? Amrullah. Didn't work, obviously. Right? Amrullah, she told him, Nin Savan, marry me. Right? Let's get married. Amrullah, he told her, seriously, you're usher to me. I had 18 wives already. Amrullah, she said to him, Chasre legan v'nafshi l'shalmanaket. When the thief has nothing to steal, he says, oh, I'm not a thief. I'm a regular, normal person. No, he doesn't even slow. He says, I'm not a thief. So she was saying to him, you don't have the kayach to have a wife. You can't be boil anymore, right? Because you're an old man. Amrlahu, he told her, and then he quotes the pasuk, Kirli Basheva, call Basheva. The Ksiv in the pasuk says, Vatave Basheva la melech hachadra. Basheva came to the king to the room. Amr Avida Marav, Ravida said Marav, Ba'isa Shah, at that time, David HaMelech was boil Basheva, and Kincha, because she was married to him, Kincha Basheva b'shal shesh yimapis. Basheva had to wipe herself, clean herself 13 times. He was boil her 13 times. Rashi says that the pasuk Vatave Basheva has 13 words, and that's where Rabbi Yehuda Marav is getting it. So he was demonstrating that the kayach wasn't an issue. But then we see this massive chiddush. Because why didn't he just divorce one of the wives, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Rav Shimon bar Abba says, come and see, Kamakashin Gerushin, how difficult, how bad divorce is. Sharei David HaMelech etir lo liyachid. They were matter for David HaMelech. Remember, we said by the Ma'aseh of Tamar, we said in yesterday's daf, that by Ma'aseh of Tamar, there were geyser on Yichud, right? Of a Pnuya. Avishag was a Pnuya. They were matter, the Sanhedrin was matter for David HaMelech because of whatever cheshbon that they had of Rosh Shah, even though they were asred, they had already made the Gzeira, they mattered for David to have yichud with Avishag. However, but they were not matir him to v'lo yitir the garish. They would not matir that he should divorce one of his 18 wives and therefore marry Avishag as his new 18 wives. What can be like a collection? I think he's limited to 18 collection also. I think 18 wives and 18 collection. Isn't that what we said yesterday? Yeah, it says he had many. Yeah, it is because the Gemara said on Amar Aleph, on Chaf Aleph Amar Aleph, the Gemara said that he had. It says a pasuk that he had a lot of wives and more plakshim. The Gemara says that was to fill up to 18. The pasuk had listed 6, and this is the rest of the 12. So he was at his limit. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, now we're talking about Gerushin over here. Little call him Megarish, his sister Rishayna, somebody who's Megarish and divorces his first wife. Afilu Mizbeach is also the last Gemara in Gittin. Afilu Mizbeach married all of the mice. Even the Mizbeach has tears, cries over this. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, it's a pasuk in Malachi. It's part of a nevuah. V'zoi shenis ta'asu, and this you should do it also. Kasais dimas mizbeach Hashem b'chiva anaka. Cover with tears the mizbeach Hashem with crying and wailing. Me'ein oid pnei sel mincha, without any more turning to the mincha. No karbanis. Kachas ratzim miyadchem, to take any ratzin, a carbon that's l'rtzain, carbon is l'rtzainchem l'fnei Hashem, right? To take any ratzin from your hands, and the pasuk continues. The next pasuk, the pasuk says, "V'amartem," and you'll say alma, why? And you'll say the answer is al ki Hashem hei beincha ve'ishes nurecha. Hashem gave testimony. Hashem witnessed between you and the wife of your childhood. Asher ata b'gadta ba, you betrayed her by divorcing her. She's your friend ve'ishes prisecha, and you're the wife that you made a covenant with, you made a promise to. So this is a mashal, but it's a mashal that the Navi was saying. It's a split between Klal Yisrael and the Rebbeinu Shalom. But what's the mashal used? Is a husband and a wife who were married and now are divorcing. Amar Rabbi Yochanan v'Teimer Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yochanan said in some say Rabbi Elazar said, "Einish teishel adam meisa elam kin mevakshin menu mamin." A wife of a person does not die unless you ask from him money unless he is asked for money, and presumably he doesn't have. Of Elam, so the pasuk says, and he doesn't have. I don't know. The pasuk says, Shenemar. The pasuk says, "V'im lecha l'shalem lama yikach mishkavecha mitachtecha." It's a pasuk in Mishlei. If you don't have what to pay, why should he take your bed from underneath? And mishkavecha, we're darshaning, is the person underneath the person is the wife.
Stuck in shoe like this.
What?
Sometimes comes stuck like this.
Yeah. So obviously we don't see people dying right and left. That's why I'm saying I don't know what the Gemara is. But what I can tell you is maybe a pshat is you see that people who have debt, it wears them down. People have tremendous amounts of debt. It's a tremendous. Not everyone has a choice. But it's a tremendous. Brings a person down in significant ways. So it could be that this is what the pasuk is talking about. Not a punishment, but it's going to affect his marriage and it's going to affect his wife, right?
Usually the man's the one who has a heart attack first.
I hear. Maybe he's giving the stress to his wife. I don't know. I hear. I don't. I was wondering about this when I was learning it before. I don't know the answer. Maybe if I find something, I'll tell you, Mr. Hashem, next week. Rabbi Yochanan says, "Kol adam shemesi ishter rishayna," somebody whose first wife died. It's like the Beis Hamikdash got destroyed in his days. That's how bad of a clap it is to him. Shenemar, like the pasuk, like the Beis Hamikdash to Klal Yisrael is like a wife dying, his first wife dying in his days. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Ben Adam. I'm taking the precious thing from the precious thing in your eyes. I'm taking in a plague. This is the Hashem talking to the Navi Yecheskel. Don't be maspid. Don't cry. Don't let your tears come. That's not the. Hang on. The Hashem was saying that your wife is going to die. But Ksivan it says, and he was telling Yecheskel, don't cry. This is part of the nevuah, part of what Hashem was giving a message to Israel. Ksivan it says, I spoke to the people in the morning. My wife died in the night. Ksiv, and the pasuk says a totally separate pasuk. Viter, in that series of psukim in Yecheskel, it says, I'm going to destroy my Beis Hamikdash. Hashem is saying, the glory of your strength, the precious thing in your eyes. So you see, just like the Beis Hamikdash is being destroyed, and that's called Machman Einechem, and it said his wife died, that was called Machman Einav. So that is the. You see that when a person's wife dies, it's as bad as for him as the Beis Hamikdash being destroyed.
Everybody has to die, It's not.
That's just doesn't mean it's a happy thing. But it's not
like
you know what you can learn. You know you can learn from this pasuk. What you learn from this pasuk is empathy, right? That sometimes a person doesn't know somebody, sees someone as a tzara, doesn't realize how heavy it is, how important it is, and difficult it is to him. The Torah is telling us, you should punk today. Somebody was telling me about her old boss and how, and I happen to know that person. So it just came up in conversation that his wife was nifter about 4 years ago after COVID. And she was telling, and I called her, I didn't know about it. It was Menachem Avol because I didn't know about it until 2 weeks later. So I called him up. It was not local. I called him up. And I spoke to him, and I was telling her how it's rough, and she was telling me that she was working with him then. And how for a year, it took him a year to right. So it was a difficult time. Right? So that's what the Gemara is telling us. We should learn that when people are going through difficult times, that sometimes it can be a really, really difficult time. Rav Alexandria says, Kal Adam Shemesi Ishta B'yamav Olam Chashach Ba'adai. When a person, his wife dies in his days, in other words, she dies before him, his world becomes dark for him. Shneimar, like the pasuk says, Ar Chashach Ba'ahalai. The light became dark in his tent, and a tent is we have by Sarah and Rivka, right? The tent is the remes for the wife. So when his Vineri Olav Yidach and his candle goes out for him. So when a person's wife dies, it's like when the tent is, it's like the light became dark for him. Rabbi Yossi Rav Chanina says, his steps become shorter. In other words, he's depressed. He can't walk regularly. Shem the pasuk says, his lashon of tsar is narrow. His tzad is a step. So and oine is strength. So his strong steps become narrower. He's not able to walk as fast. You see, sometimes a person walks with a load on his shoulder. My father told me that many years ago he was entitled by a shuv in Kew Garden Hills, and Rav Shalom Shadron was sitting there, and an old person came in and he was walking like this. And Rav Shalom said, "Well, show him the recording." Rav Shalom said, "No, this is how you have to walk. Cut up."
So what's that? Why the guy?
He was saying the guy was feeling old, and Rav Shalom said, "Just because you're feeling old doesn't mean you have to walk old." That was Rav Shalom's lesson. It's not always possible, but that was Rav Shalom's lesson. Zaktamar Vaiter. Rabavo Amar, somebody whose wife dies, Atzasei Nefeles. His eitzah falls. In other words, it's harder for him to give eitzahs. Good advice. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Atishlechehu Atzasei. And that's the end of the last pasuk that we brought in. Yetzer Tzadei Yoinei, the end of the pasuk is, and his eitzah got thrown away. Amar Rabbi Bar Bachana, Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Bachana said, name Rabbi Yechanan, Kasha L'Zavkam Kriyas Yamsuf. We're talking about divorce, and then we're talking about wives dying. We're sort of going in the opposite order. Now we're talking about Shidduchim. It's hard, the famous Gemara, it's hard to make zivugim to make Shidduchim like Kriyas Yamsuf. How do you know? Shnemer, like the pasuk says, Elikim Moshe v'Yichidim Baisa, Hashem sits Yichidim, individuals, and puts them Baisa into a house. In fact, in Gemara, it's a big deal. Eini, it's not so. Yehuda said the name of Rav. 40 days before a Vlad is created, a baby is created. Baskal Yetzis Vaymeres. The Baskal goes out and says, Bas Pliny Pliny. The daughter of Yankol will go to Beryl. So you see, it's not so difficult. The Gemara says, like Kasha, it's not sure. Zivig Rishon, Rashi explains elsewhere, is easier. Tali and Mazel. Zivik Sheni is Tali in Maisem, Tali in your schar, Tali in your whether you're a good person or not. Right? That's harder. So Zivik Sheni is harder than Zivik Rishon. Amar Shmuel Bar Nachman. Shmuel Bar Nachman said, "Kol yesh t'mura chutz me'ishes norm." You could find a substitute for anything except for your first wife. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, "Ve'ishes neurim kisimas," and the wife of your youth, kisimais. The beginning of the pasuk is Isha azuva vatzuva sruach, like a woman who's left and sad and depressed in spirit. Karacha Hashem called you. Ve'ishes neurim kisimais, like a wife of youth when she is disgusted. Okay, cast off. It's spurned. That's the word I would say. Spurned, hated. Yeah, that's lashon of mias, right? So you see, it's a terrible thing. Let's say the isha, like a wife when she's semais, and the isha the urim is even worse. Masinle Rav Yehuda, Rav Yitzchak, Rav Yehuda said, to note the names of it, Rav Yehuda said to his son Rav Yitzchak, a person only gets pleasure from Keres Ruach is like Yishav Adas from his first wife. Shnemer Yehi B'karech Baruch Usmach Mi Eishes Nurecha. May your Mekar be, it literally means your source blessed, but we're using that for lashon of Keres Ruach, right? Pleasure. And you'll be happy, and that's from Eish Nurecha, from your wife when you're of your youth. Amar Loi, so Rav Yitzchak said to his father Rav Yehuda, going man, like who? Who's this? Like who's an example of this pasuk? Amar Loi, going imcha, like your mother, right? My wife.
She's still alive?
I don't know if she's still alive or not, but either way, that's what he's saying. In fact, it's not so. Rav Yehuda said, pasuk taught his pasuk to his Rav Yitzchak, the same Rav Yehuda, the same Rav Yitzchak, and it's a pasuk in Mishlei. I'm sorry, a pasuk in Keheles. I find more bitter than death, as a isha she would sudim v'charamim, a woman who traps and does bad things to her husband. And Rav Yitzchak said to his father, "Going man like who?" And he said, like your mother, right? So what's going on? He liked her, or didn't like her? Was she a good wife or not? And for the Gemara, what? And for the Gemara, miskaft kifa yivurim avra b'mila. Shitaka had very bad midas. Shitaka had a lot of bad attributes, but she was a verasal on mavra midaiseha. She went and she made herself stronger. So he was saying it's tako difficult to your mother, but she was still, he loved her. She was a good wife because she did this, because she was mavra midaiseha, which also tells you that she had such difficult midas that he was able to say this pasuk in Keheles about her, but afal pikein she rose above them and she was the smach me'ishes neurecha. Zaktamar Viter. Amar Rav Shmuel Bar Unya Mishmeid Rav. Rav Shmuel Bar Unya said the name of Rav. Isha goylem here, and Isha is like an unformed keli. Veina karesses pris, and she only makes a bond el misha sakli, to the person who made her into keli. In other words, the first person who's bayil her, that is who she makes the most intimate connection with, or deepest connection with. Shneim, like the passage says, and again, this is we're learning a lot of these things are mishalim about the Bnei Yisrael and the Klal Yisrael, but because of the thing that we're using for the mashal, we learn there's always a truth in a mashal, which is why you use it to say the nimshal, right? So the one who is bayil you is the one who made him, is the one who made you. Over there it's Hashem, talking about Hashem who created Klal Yisrael. But Tana, we learned Einish Meisa El Ishtai and Isha Meisa El Lebala. A husband only dies for his wife, and a wife only dies for her husband. In other words, the main clap, is of course a person, a kid, a brother, a sister, a parent. Of course, it's the main clap is to the spouse, and we know this from Pasuk. Two psukim. A husband's death is only felt the worst by his wife. Shenever, like the pasuk says, Elimelech, the husband of Nami, died. So you see, it stresses the problem was the death was that he was the husband of Nami. And a wife only dies. The main clap is to her husband. Shnemer vani b'vayim mipadan. A pasuk it's actually in this week's parasha. When I came from Padan Aram, Mesa alai Rachel died alive for me, right? Of course, she was Binyamin's mother, right? Yosef wasn't there then, but she was Binyamin's mother, right? She had her sister Leah was there, right? But Mesa alai Rachel, Yaakov said that was the biggest clap. Okay, Zaktimar Viter. The Gemara quotes the Mishnah, you don't see when he's taking a haircut, or when he's in the bathhouse, or when he's not dressed. Rabbanan learned, Melech Mistaper B'chol Yayin. A king has to take a haircut every single day. Kohen Gadol me'Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos. The Kohen Gadol has to take a haircut every week, every Erev Shabbos. Kohen Hedyet Echad L'Shleishim Yayin. He takes a haircut once in 30 days. Now the Gemara is going to explain how we know all these things. Melech.
Very, very weird.
What?
It's very weird.
The Gemara says Melech Mistaper B'chol Yayin.
The haircut.
Here.
Well, it'll be very quick.
Once a day?
Yeah, it'll be very quick.
Shave, I understand. But,
There are people who shave their hair every day, right? They have baldness, right?
Yeah, okay.
Right? Well, it's not. I don't think I never did it, but I imagine it doesn't take so long, right? Because it's only a little bit.
Not from the cut. One day growth.
Oh, so hold on. We'll talk about the king's haircut soon. Bottom of the Amr. So Melech Mistapar B'chol Yom, the king takes a haircut every day. Shenemar, like we learned in the pasuk, Melech b'yafiyeh techzen einecha. King in his beauty, you'll see with your eyes. Your eyes will see. So a king always has to look beautiful. A king has to look handsome, and there can be no point where he's not looking dignified and royal.
Doesn't have to.
What?
Doesn't have to.
No. Kohen Gadol on the Erev Shabbos. The Kohen Gadol has to take a haircut every Erev Shabbos. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachman, Amar Rav Yechanan. Rav Shmuel bar Nachman said the name of Rav Yechanan. Hoyel Mishmaros Mischatres. Since there's a new Mishmar every Erev Shabbos. So when the new Mishmar comes in, they have to see the Kohen Gadol looking chashav. Kohen Hedyot echad l'shleishim yom, but a Kohen Hedyot's only once every 30 days. The Ksiv pasuk says, this pasuk in Yecheskel, we'll talk about the nevuah of how it'll be by Bayis Shlishi. V'roshim lo yigalechu, they shouldn't shave their heads. Upera lo yishlachu, and they shouldn't let their hair grow long. Kasam yichsmus rashehem, they should be kasam their hair. We'll talk about what that means later on in the Gemara. V'yalef para min Nazarene, learn the word para from Nazarene. Ksivhacha para leishalechu. Pasuk by the Cheskel, let's talk about the Kehanim, says they shouldn't let their para grow long. Ksivhasam gadol para saroshai. By a Nazir, he lets his hair grow, and malal on shleishim, astam naziris is 30 days. So just like over there at shleishim, Afkan Shleishim, it's 30 days. With Tananami, it's Tam Nazir Shleishim. We know this from a Mishnah. It's Tam Nazir is 30 days. So therefore, the Kohen Hedyot should take your haircut every 30 days. How do you know of the year that's Tam Nazir is 30 days? Rav Masna says, the pasuk says, Kadosh Yeh, he should be holy. Yeh is B'gematria Tlasin. It's Gematria 30. 2 Yuds is 20, 2 Hays is 10, 20 plus 10 is 30. Maybe when it said in the pasuk by a kohen that they shouldn't let their hair grow, maybe that means they shouldn't let their hair grow at all. Maybe they should. This is a lack of hair. So maybe they shouldn't let it grow at all. How do you know if they can take a haircut every 30 days? So Rabbi said back, if it said don't let grow the hair long, then you know, it's like we said, that the hair can never grow long. Now it says a para, and para is mashma 30 days worth of growth. So it says para lahava shluchi lo lishtachu. The para that you would let grow, more than 30 days, you shouldn't let it grow. In other words, up to 30 days, you're okay. Because para leishtachu, don't let it get longer than para. But to get up to para, you're okay. That's why you can let it grow up to 30 days. If this is the case, you have a pasuk that a kohen shouldn't have a haircut. Right? Rav Shmuel is a Levi. I'm sorry, he has to take a haircut every 30 days. You shouldn't let his hair grow. That's what I meant to say. Rav Shmuel here is a Levi, so it's not so negative. But if you have a kohen, right, today, Bisman Hazeh, he shouldn't be able to let his hair grow more than 30 days. Right? He's not allowed to do the avodah.
Do the finger, man. Then has fingers pointing.
Right, for the malika, right? So then the Gemara says, Dumi diyayin, it's just like wine. I'm sorry, and for the Gemara, Dumi diyayin, it's like wine. The pasuk says that a kohen is not allowed to drink wine because maybe he'll be called to the avodah. La yayin bisman Yehuda asur, shla bisman shari. Just like wine, it's only asur at the time that you could come to the base of Mikdash, because the pasuk that says about in Yecheskel about growing here, the very next pasuk is v'yayin la yishtu kol kayin. Every kayin is not allowed to drink wine. B'vayam elachatz rapimis, when they come into the base of Mikdash. So you see, it's only bisman bia when they're coming to drink the avodah. But if it's not bisman bia, then they're fine. So shari, it's mutter. So we learned since you sit right next to each other, letting your hair grow bisman bia asar. When you come into the avodah, that's when you're not allowed. But shlei bisman bia, when you're not coming to the avodah, shari, you're allowed to let your hair grow. Practically, Gemara, it's not true. V'yayin, what? V'yayin shlei bisman bia shari. You're telling me that you're allowed to drink wine even though you're not coming to the base of Mikdash. But Tanya, you learned the price like this. Rebbe says, I hold. If you're going to say that from the pasuk that Kohanim are not allowed to drink wine is man here, I would say Kohanim asur l'shnitayin la'ilam. Based on that, Kohanim are also to drink wine forever.
Called in.
Why? Because even after the Churban Beis Hamikdash, if you're hold, we're going to say later on that there's the Brisa. Rashi brings that over here. The Brisa says that a kohen who knows which mishmar he's in and which Beis Av he's in, so he knows which week he's going to be Avodah and which day of the week. That day he's not allowed to drink wine because maybe they'll call him in. If he only knows the week, he doesn't know which Beis Av he's in, so he only knows the mishmar. Then that whole week he's not allowed to drink. If he doesn't know his mishmar or his Beis Av, he's not allowed to drink at all. Even to Zman Hazeh, because maybe Mashiach will come. And when Mashiach will come, they'll need it. Maybe it'll be his week, or maybe he'll be the first one ready. So he has to be ready. Shem Yavim Mashiach. So Rebbe says, if you're chayshish for this, then I would say you can't drink. No kohen is ever allowed to drink wine, right? Ever. What should I do? Because the thing that was makalkalim, the thing that made it that you don't know. Which kohen is supposed to do avodah when, which is the Churban Beis Hamikdash, and now we don't know which mishmar is supposed to be which week. That made it better for them because now we taka don't know, and Rabbi says, I hold that we're not chayshish Shema Yibana Pisai. Maybe the Beis Hamikdash will be built suddenly. There'll be some time to figure it out, and they'll be able to go and get a haircut. Abaye said, who do we paskin like that allows a kohen to drink wine? We hold like Rebbe. And what's the pshat? Over here, in other words, why is it they aser to drink wine
nowadays?
According to Rabbanan, but the kohen does not have to take haircuts. Where it says time of the other reason is Mehiri Bana Beis Hamikdash, that the Levai, that the Beis Hamikdash will be built quickly. We'll need a kohen that's ready to do the avodah right then. And you won't be able to do it. But if that's the case, by haircuts also, you need a kohen who's ready to do the avodah, and you won't have that either because he won't have a haircut. Where it says there's a very big difference between a kohen drinking and a kohen not having a haircut. It's very easy. Give me a haircut and it'll go in at any point. Just get the Remington, whatever, and you run it over his hair.
It's not like there's going to be a delay.
So it won't be a delay.
Wine, you have a delay.
But Frakta Gemara by wine you have a delay. But Frakta Gemara Hasam Nami after the 9 part of Ayil, he can sleep a little bit, take a little nap, and then he'll go in. Rav Acha says derech mil, walking a mill, the sheena kosher, and a little sleep. Mafikin as they make the wine weaker. No, that's not true. Didn't we say on this vart that Rav Acha said that a little sleep is good enough to take away the effects of wine? That's if you have 1 cup, if you have a revius of wine. The Yisrael Revius, you guzzle down a bottle.
Those days is very strong, the wine also.
Yes. Kolshkein, it's even worse. The derech terv dasai, because you become shvach, because you're walking, taking that walk. The shina meshach rasai, and when you go to sleep, that mamash knocks you out, it makes you shekel. Rav Ashi Yomi Amar. Rav Ashi says it's different nafkamina between people not taking a haircut b'zman hazeh for kahanim and not drinking wine b'zman hazeh for kahanim. Shtuya yayin demachli avoda gatzur rabbanan. Somebody who drinks wine, it makes the avoda chulin. It's not kosher avoda. So the rabbanan were geyser even b'zman hazeh that maybe Shemi Yavim Mashiach, maybe Shemi Yibana Beis Hamikdash Mehera, and then they'll have to go and do the avoda. So therefore, because it's much more chumr if they do it wrong, so therefore they were geyser even b'zman hazeh they can't drink wine. Purei Rosh le'machli avoda le'gazu b'rabbanan. But Purei Rosh, if you do the avoda without your haircut, it's not going to. The avoda will still be kosher with the Evid. You're not allowed to do it, but it'll be kosher with the Evid. So therefore, they weren't geyser b'zman hazeh. Practically, Gemara Meisi I'll ask you kasha the Elu Sheva Misa. This is a Gemara later on at Daf Gimel on Beis, I think. These are the people who get Misa B'dei Shemayim. Purei Rosh, people who are Kohanim, and it says a whole list, but 2 of the things are Purei Rosh, Kohanim who have long hair and do the avodah, Ushtuya Yayin, and Kohanim who drink wine and then do the avodah. Yeah, it means that in a different context, but over here it means, like we said before, Badal Peras Aroshe, that the hair is long.
Long hair means over 30 days.
Right. So somebody who's Purei Rosh and does the avodah, he gets a einish of Misa. Bishlam Shtui Yain Diksiv Yain Sheikh Al Teish Atu Benach Musum. The Gemara says, I don't know where this Mukar for Shtui Yain is, because it says Yain Sheikh Al Teish, don't drink wine. Atu Benecha. This is the parsha by Aaron HaKohen after another and Avir were nifter. And they won't die. Al Puri Rosh Manalan. How do you know that someone who does not avoida with his hair long, he gets misa? The Gemara says the iskish in the Puri Rosh. The ksiv Rosh Leigalechu Perle Yishtachu. The ksiv Basrei Yain Layishtu. The Gaimer. The pasuk we quoted in Yecheskel, the very next that talks about letting your hair grow. The very next pasuk is saying, "Don't drink wine when you do that avodah." So you see, just like drinking wine is a chiyuv misa, so too doing that avodah with your haircut is a chiyuv misa. Mashtui yain b'misa, puri reish b'misa. Just like drinking wine and doing that avodah is b'misa b'shemayim, so too letting your hair grow more than 30 days and doing that avodah is b'misa b'shemayim. Mina.
What was supposed to be words before? Take a haircut, so you should look respectable.
For the kayin?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why it's so terrible?
The problem is he did that avodah without taking a haircut. He let his hair grow more than 30 days, and he did that avodah anyway. He should have taken a haircut before he did it. He didn't. That's avera. That's not covered to the branch of the Beis Hamikdash. The avodah. But we learn from this same hakish, mashri yayin the machli avodah, just like shtri yayin. Doing the avodah while after you drink makes the avodah no good. So you see that Puri Reish also makes the avodah no good. So Rav Ashi said that we're not glazer by Puri Reish because it doesn't make the avodah no good. The avodah still is kasha b'diavad. Or it says kasha, it's taka kasha on Rav Ashi. I'm there, if you know Rav Ashi, Ravina said to Rav Ashi, Hi, Adoloi Asi Yecheskel. Hi, this halacha that said that a kohen has to take a haircut every 30 days. Adoloi Asi Yecheskel, until Yecheskel came and said in his nevuah in Sefer Yecheskel, Man Amara. Who said this? In other words, how did the kohen know the halacha that they have to take a haircut every 30 days before Yecheskel? Right? He had hundreds of years of Klal Yisrael before Yecheskel, right? In fact, the Gemara l'tamech. So Rav Ashi said back, Hadam Rav Chisda Davar Sam Teres Moshe Rabbeinu Limadu. We didn't learn the following from the Torah of Moshe. In other words, we don't have a limit from the pasuk on this. Until Yecheskel came and taught it to us. And what did he teach us? Kol ben nechar. Aral lev v'aral basar u'yavi mikdashi l'sharseni. A kohen who's a ben nechar. Ben nechar means he's a mishumid, went off the derech. Or aral lev, and that's what ben nechar aral lev. He went off the derech. His heart is covered. Or varal basar, he's an aral. He doesn't have a bris milah. U'yavi mikdashi l'sharseni. He can't come to my mikdash to serve me. The l'sharseni is added in. It's not in the pasuk. Adolei ba Yecheskel manamara. Until Yecheskel came and said this pasuk, who said that an Aral is not allowed to do the avodah? El Gemara Mirila must be that we had a tradition, we had a Kabbalah from Moshe Rabbeinu that this was the halacha. But Yecheskel vas Mechakra, and Yecheskel came and made a pasuk about it. Hachanami over here also by growing your hair and taking your haircut every 30 days. Gemara Mirila, we had a Kabbalah azay. But Yecheskel vas Mechakra, and Yecheskel came and put it on a pasuk. Now you asked this before. My custom yichsamu as Roshem. What does it mean? The end of the pasuk by Yecheskel, they should cut their hair. They should be custom yichsamu. What does that mean? Tana we learn from the spurious lulinus. It's talking about the kohen gadol, and he has to have a lulinus haircut. Certain type of haircut. My tasperis lulinus. What's tasperis lulinus? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel taspertu yichida. Rav Yehuda said name Shmuel means a unique haircut. Yeah, it was the $400 haircut when you go to the Hollywood celebrities.
Vending muscle.
What?
As you said, vending muscle.
Yeah.
Because muscle is not a zero then.
Right. Hey, in fact, the more hechidam, you walk on your haircut, was it? Rav Ashi said, Rosh Shalzeh, but Tzadikar Shalzeh. The end of one year would meet up with the beginning of the next year. I don't know what that means either. And I'll see, it's not so pashut. It's just not the literal translation, because look what happened. Shalos Rebbe, they asked Rebbe, Yehuda Nasi, Ezu Tasper Shal Kohen Gadol, what kind of haircut did the Kohen Gadol get? Amar Lahem. What?
It's different than any other kind.
Yeah. This is all Kasim Yismus Mei is only talking about the Kohen Gadol. Amar Lahem, he told them, Tzuru Mi Tasper Shal Ben Elasha, go look the Spurs Ben Elisha. El Ben Elisha, I believe, was Rebbe Shver, and he spent a lot of money. Tanya Rebbe Omer Loyal Chinam Pizer Ben Elisha is Ma'asav. It wasn't for nothing that Ben Elisha threw away his money. In other words, he spent a lot of money to learn a certain haircut style, not for nothing. Yeah, he wasn't doing it to be a hairstylist. He was doing it so he could show people this is how the Kohen Gadol's. He found someone to teach him. This is how the Kohen, and he paid him a lot of money. This is how the Kohen Gadol's haircut was, and that's what custom use must be. Adron Lach Kohen Gadol Mazel Tov. Amir Hashem. So I'm not here tomorrow night. So Amir Hashem on Sunday. We'll continue from Chafei Yom and Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Amar of Yehuda.